One day there was a picture of me. There's a guy in England that I knew. His name is Joe. And I showed him a picture of me, like a little photo booth thing, and as like a black and white pic. And then he said something interesting. He looked at it, and of course I was putting it on. But then he looked at it and he says, "Oh, Jimmy Choo, that tormented soul." And I was laughing, and so was he. I was taking the piss. But there was something in there. I said, why did I choose to not be smiley or not be happy like most people? You know, these little things are interesting because kids can't relate, alright? Because then it was like, what sort of fun would you have on a Saturday night, on a Saturday day? Go to is it called a shopping precinct or a shopping mall or a galerie marchande, and then the photo booth was there. Sometimes you'd find them in metro stations or you'd find them in train stations because people needed pictures, and 100% of the time people got a passport when they got a passport, and then all of a sudden they looked at those photo thingies and then go, I look awful, oh don't look at me there, oh look at that horrible picture of me. Well, fucking hell man, if your picture looks shit, it's because you're shit, because you know. Anyway, I had this little pic, and I suppose there was 4 views. I always made an effort to find the one device where, you know, it was bad enough sort of plucking the courage to go there, people watching me, and then they'll see your legs. Beautiful film. I was going to say British film, and in fact it's an American director who decided to leave Britain and settle, you know, in America, and his name is the guy who did all the Beatles films, Richard Lester. Got some brain cells left. And there's a I think it's Sarah Miles, or is it Vera something? It's not Sarah Miles, it's the other one, Rita Tushingham. And Rita Tushingham's in there, and she's absolutely brilliant. She's got for most frogs enamored with all things British, no matter whether it's 1965 or if it's 1978. You often think the Brits have got I suppose they're either beautiful or very ugly, and of course someone ugly might be beautiful inside and someone beautiful out on the outside might be a horrible person. Everyone knows that. So let me get to my point. My point is not this at all. There's Rita Tushingham, and then you look at her and she's got a weird face. So the French thought everything English is intriguing. It wasn't jealousy, but for the Anglophiles, there was definitely something that attracted them to England. And I suppose shoes, food, smells, landscapes, and everyone knows, if you've lived in London long enough and survived it, that place rejoices, bathed in the sun, and it becomes a different place. And all of a sudden, not just the daffodils that come out, but everything else. And it's a mysterious place, London. And England is an ugly witch. I know that. As far as France is concerned, and I'll start dealing with my subject this morning, Jimmy Choo here at the controls, telling you a load of bollocks, as per usual. You're going to be shocked, but I'm not too sure what to make of France in 2023. It is a bit of a weird one, really. The French people, I still don't know what to think of them. You know, bunch of pricks, really. political thing is way too heavy on our shoulders. All of a sudden, you know, whether we would like it or not, 1789, and I don't need 15 hours of analysis. It's fucking bloodbath. 1793 is the terror, and they all start fucking killing each other. If you think that's a success, just fuck off. And then all of a sudden, everyone likes to see a bit of tits, or a bit of tit, or 2 tits, 3, you know, given the chance. But then all of a sudden, you get this. I think it's Delacroix who painted that. So there she's called Liberty, Marianne, what the fuck. There's a kitty there, Gavroche. I think he's got a gun. Hey, why not? Give a kid the gun. Tell him who to kill first. And then there's this girl, like, she's obviously, it's an intriguing scene, isn't it? You wouldn't see Danton or Robespierre, you know, like with a shirt on and like no fucking leggings or trousers and his fucking dick hanging out, would you? No, you wouldn't, would you? But then there she is, right? She's got a beautiful breast, you know, a lovely little breast. I'm not too sure who they feed. But there she is, right? I think she's got a gun. She's quite a big lass, you know, quite a big woman, French woman, blonde. And there she is. She's gonna show them, you know, what this populace is made of. And that's it. It's a fucking picture in a museum. I think the reality of it was just way different. And in fact, it was gory and it was shit. By 1793, read Victor Hugo if you've got 5 minutes. It's a mess. So, 1789, 4 long years, okay, before something kicks off. And what is it? Big fucker, Louis XVI, grabs a taxi. He says to everyone, oh, look, I'm handling this, don't worry. And he fucks off. They catch him in the Bastille. And why they're there, the revolutionaries, they empty the Bastille because that place, which is no longer in existence. So I suppose that's quite an interesting historical fact. It's so hideous for the French people, for the Parisians to every day see this and hear the cries, or, you know, people shouting, being tortured, no doubt. And they couldn't hack it anymore. And it was a symbol of royalty inflicting on them terrible things. So they took it down to the last stone. There's nothing left of this huge building. It's very interesting. And some 500 meters away, or half a mile away, they just build this column, and at the top of the column is I think there's a little Eros. Hey, Eros, I've seen you somewhere before. Anyway, I was going to talk about the milkshakes, not the drink, you cunts. I was going to say about this band and how interesting they were. And will they ever reform? I doubt it very much. And that's a good thing, because they've been and gone. And I was lucky to see them. Papa Chu, sound like an old granddad. And it was interesting. Of course, I wish I'd seen them in London, I suppose, but in those days, some frogs went to London once every so often. It was expensive. It could have been a long trip. It was a long trip. I remember it was 2 hours delay, and for the second time I went, it was 12 hours trip, because the night trip was brilliant. It really was, but tiring. And London's intriguing, or was. I'm sure it is today. Who knows? The milkshakes, they were an oddity because they didn't do things like anyone else. And there was a great person I met, and I was lucky to have met that woman, and I really liked her, and that's Vicky. And it was only thanks to her that one day when I was in London, a visitor, she said, "Oh, I was scoring some milkshake stuff that I couldn't get anywhere else." And then she said, "Oh, you're interested in really childish. And she goes, well, there may be something of interest here because he's doing an exhibition. And then I went along, and I suppose, I don't know whether it's any good owning pictures, paintings, but there was a good few paintings there really, and I'd like to own them now. No, I wouldn't. Yes, I would, but you know, it's just lucky to sort of like score a few books, maybe buy a vinyl. I forgot, and it was interesting really. I think that would have been in 1988. I don't know whether the British paid much notice to Childish in those days, but Shane McGowan did. And the band stopped, and the band stopped for one reason. And I'm not going to say what it is, because no one cares. And of course, what's interesting with that band is, from say 1979 till 1984, 1985, they carried on with a slight personal change, and that was Banana Bertie was the initial bass player, and I was lucky to see him on stage with another combo, and that was great, really. It's a great band, that band, really fucking great. There was a guy on guitar, there was another guy on guitar who was completely drunk, and you know, I think that was about 40% of the fun, really, to see him sort of stumble and lose his spectrum and do silly things. It's completely sloshed. Like, you know, how are you gonna kind of like do a gig? Because obviously they hadn't gigged that much, and then this guy come to London, because I guess they all came from Chatham or Rochester. And there was a girl, this guy on saxophone, there was a drummer I couldn't see, and that's just the thing, if you got like 5-6 people on stage, the drummer's the 7th member. I like to watch stuff, and or people, and there's a girl there was a girl singing or doing backing vocals, and that was interesting. Like, if you looked at the French bands in those days, and I suppose maybe the 60s were the 60s, and the people who started with rock and roll or their French version went off to get juicy contracts, or the others just vanished. Gotta stop this, man, because I gotta recharge this device. And so I've got to stop now. I'm sorry.